And we have breaking news. The House has narrowly passed the Trump-backed budget blueprint. Let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien, who's on Capitol Hill, for more on that. Jay, walk us through this and these results. What does this mean?
Yeah, Diane. So last night, Mike Johnson had more than a dozen holdouts. And today, when they brought this to the floor for the vote, because they had to cancel the vote last night, he only had 2 Republicans that voted against it. And those were the 2 that were largely expected to vote against it. He was able to move those holdouts, and he was able to do it with spending concessions by the Senate. Nothing in writing, but a verbal commitment. We're going to walk over here because some of the holdouts are actually on their way here now. This is Andy Harris, chair of the Freedom Caucus, and a few others, Eric Burleson, Scott Perry, et cetera. They're going to come right down here. These are those holdouts I'm talking about that flipped.
You're my press guy?
I'm your press guy.
You're a press guy?
What got you to change?
Look, we made tremendous progress over the last 2 days in making certain that whatever we do on reconciliation, we don't increase this country's budget deficit. We take the Moody report from 2 weeks ago pretty seriously, that you can't have unpaid for tax cuts. And we made progress in getting assurances both from the Senate and the House leadership that that's not going to occur. Well, now what we're going to do is that we have a concurrent resolution been passed by both houses. Both chambers are going to get to work on drafting the final reconciliation bill. But the confines of that reconciliation bill are now, we're pretty certain that it's not going to increase the budget deficit, which is pretty important.
The commitment you got. The commitment you got was only on camera. It wasn't in writing. What do you say to people? The commitment you got was only Thune coming out on camera. It wasn't in writing or anything like that. What do you say to people who say you can't?
That's right. That's right. Look. Before this morning, that's right. Did anybody seen the majority leader of the Senate come out and actually say, yes, we actually are committed?
With the House numbers?
Right. We're agreed to the House numbers. We're agreed to the House framework. And the House leadership has now agreed that we will maintain the House framework, which assures that we do not have an increase in the budget deficit with unpaid tax cuts.
Hold on. So I think we'd like to let Jody, the budget committee chair, be able to speak about this for a second.
I would tell you I have confidence and assurance that we can advance the full America First agenda with the framework and the commitments that we've received. The full America First agenda is not just cutting taxes and other pro-growth policies like unleashing American energy production. It's not just simply giving the president more resources for border security and strengthening our defense. I would say, most importantly, it's putting our nation on a path to balance, because if we bankrupt this country, nothing else matters. And I think I can say on behalf of my colleagues that we have had unprecedented levels of commitment to reducing spending from both chambers and from the president. And most importantly for me, a commitment from the leadership of the House that we will not put a bill on the floor of our chamber that adds to the national debt, which is a deferred tax on our children.
What about the leader says he
If I can
wants
jump in, can we just go real quick? I want to add one thing here, because you guys are asking, I think, an important question, which is what changed, okay? In the last 48 hours, there have been 3 material developments. First, the White House committed very specifically to significant cuts to us. We got very strong confirmations about the levels of cuts and how committed they are to achieving them, specifically dealing with the Inflation Reduction Act, specifically ensuring that we're dealing with the waste, fraud, and abuse with Medicaid, making sure that we're delivering for the American people with actual spending reductions. Second, we got a firm commitment from the Speaker about making sure he maintains the framework we put in the House bill.
That's right.
That will guarantee the connectivity between spending and taxes. That was put very explicitly to us. The Speaker was firm in his commitment. And third, we have a strong statement from the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, that he is committed to $1.5 trillion. I know people are talking about the words, but he was talking about $1.5 trillion
floor
as a floor. And we have now 3 strong statements from the Speaker, the President, and the Senate Majority Leader. We did not have those 48 hours ago.
Right.
We do now. Now, that is a step, which is just the beginning. We still have to now go draft the actual reconciliation package. And that part that I said about the commitment from the Speaker is the critical element that, as Jody referred to, will not actually increase deficits. That is our key driving factor, and we got a commitment on that, and that's why we're here.
How could you say that when the leader, Thune, has called for permanent tax cuts? He's called for permanent tax cuts.
Lloyd, why don't you jump in?
We want them to be permanent, too.
And you are watching some Republican holdouts explaining their decision to vote to pass the budget blueprint on Capitol Hill. Big thanks to Jay O'Brien there, following every step of the way.